Hi, welcome back. I am Freya and this is my AuthorTube channel, and this video is a June wrap-up reflections kind of situation. So grab a cozy beverage or an uncozy beverage, I don't know what an uncozy beverage is, and sit down with me and I will talk you through how my June went. Okay, so every time I sit down to film one of these, I kind of have this moment of, did I actually do anything during last month? Like, what happened? Like, I don't remember. Did anything happen? But I do think these videos kind of offer a really nice time to like stop and reflect, and kind of really neat bookend to the month. And it is starting to feel like the month isn't complete until I film this video. So in June, at the start of June, to offer you a little bit of background is how you say that word, Freya. My third novel, High Quality Man, which is a contemporary novel that centers around a manosphere podcaster's fall from grace and like re-reflecting on his own life, was with my critique partner waiting to be read. So on the first day of June, I actually started an old project, and this particular scrivener document I had opened many moons ago, before I started what became my second novel, The Go-Between Girl. So before I started it, I was working on this kind of idea, and I had about 8,000 words, and then I kind of came to the conclusion that I wanted to shelve it because I didn't want it to be the next novel I published. I didn't like it enough. And we'll come back to that. That's kind of significant to how I'm feeling about it now. But essentially I shelved it. And so on June 1st, I dusted off this project. I reopened it and I looked at it for the first time and I said, I made some changes, but I essentially, on that first day, I came to the conclusion that what I had there could kind of stay in a way, but it did need to be like completely rewritten. So I think that day I did about 1,300 words of copy and paste, rewriting, filling, like reshaping it into something that I wanted to work on. So if you're just here for the like high level overview stats, in June I wrote 10,454 words. And also in June, later in the month, I did my swapping screen time for writing time challenge, where I edited High Quality Man once I got it back for almost 24 hours, 23.61 hours. And that is the two big stats from June. But to go back to what I was saying, this is getting a little bit disorganized. I'm sorry. I should have, I started scripting like this video, like writing out what I wanted to say. And then I was like, I got to this stage, like halfway into the paragraph, and I was like, no, you can just talk. You're fine. You know, you do these videos just talking off the cuff all the time. It'll be fine. And now I'm kind of a little bit regretting that because yeah. Anyway, so the first 2 weeks of the month, I think, or the first 2 weeks of the month, I spent working on my new project, which I haven't said what that is yet. And basically all I really know about it at this stage is my main character, Annie, is a tour guide working for like a Contiki type company, not Contiki, off-brand Contiki, because I can't use Contiki without getting sued. And she has just started working for them, and she goes on basically the tour from hell where everything she tries goes wrong, and it's a big schmozzle disaster. So my basic plan for the novel is a lot of things are going to go wrong on this tour that she's meant to be leading. And I'm now 11,000 words in, and what I've discovered about my writing is when I'm working on a project, I will have this like looming, overarching anxiety that persists throughout the whole project. And for High Quality Man, I don't really remember what it was for the Go-Between Girl because it's been a long time since I was writing that first draft. But for High Quality Man, it was the fact that I was writing from the perspective of a male protagonist. And I kind of thought, like, I had this anxiety about whether I could do that believably as a female, and whether he would come off, like a genuine male specimen. And I have thoughts on that having done it now. I saw a Reddit post on it the other day about writing from a different gender perspective than the one you have. And the first comment was like, don't write the gender, write the character, like write the person. And I was like, wow, I wish I had seen that back when I was dealing with this anxiety, because that would have helped me so much. And I think I did eventually come to that realization that I could just write what he was experiencing. But I wish I had had that insight from the start, because it would have saved me a lot of angst. But anyway, my point is that you have one overarching anxiety that stays with you the whole of the project. And for me, in this new project, it is, do I like this project enough? And what I mean by that is, am I attached to this? Do I care about it enough to persist with it for the whole amount of time that it takes to write a novel? Will I stick with it? Will I like it at the end? Will I like editing it? And some of that is like, do you ever you like a project maybe in hindsight, like you like it once it's done. And so some of that I can kind of blow off, but that was the reason I dropped it initially after writing 8,000 words of it. That was the reason I kind of put it down and said, no, not right now, thanks. So that as soon as I started working on it again, I'm like, that old anxiety is kind of coming up again, and I'm kind of having to grapple with it. But I think, you have one big fear for each project, or that's the way I experience it, that kind of stays with you. So that's what it is for this project. But moving on to the next week of the month. Hang on 1 second. Okay, we are back with transmission. So now I'm kind of at the point where I'm talking about my, we're at the 20th of June, and I'm about to start my swapping screen time for writing time challenge. So the whole previous week I had been diligently starting a timer and recording how much screen time I had, and I was going to swap it for writing time, and I had all the lists of hours, because every day was hours of how much wasteful screen time I had consumed. and I was ready to start, and I had 3 tasks for this week, and they were because I had gotten back my edits of High Quality Man. If you want to know what my critique partner said, I made a whole video on that. But I'd gotten back my edits, so the first task of the week was going through and making the small itty bitty edits, and that took most of day 1. And then this is something that I've been skeptical of, but my critique partner swears by reading things aloud in the editing process to kind of hear how they sound and how the words flow. And if you have trouble reading it aloud, that means that that particular sentence isn't working, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, he has always sworn by this and repeatedly tells me that it would fix a lot of my problems, like on a sentence level, and that this is something I need to invest time in. So in this project, shock, because it's taken me 3 projects, I guess, to get to this point where I'm actually listening to him and taking this advice on board and attempting to do my own aloud read through. And what I noticed the first day when I was doing it was that I couldn't read it aloud and hear what needed to be changed at the same time. So I had this system of recording myself reading it aloud and then listening back to that recording, and as I was listening, reading the text, and then I would kind of see what needed to be changed. Either the first time, if I didn't catch it the first time I was reading it through, I would see it the second time when I was listening to it and reading it at the same time. But anyway, so that was the majority of the editing pass I did that week, that big week. I vlogged, I swapped screen time for writing time. And let me just tell you about that challenge. I don't know if I will ever do it again because it was intense. It was not the most fun experience. It was a lot of time, and I ended up at the end of that week having a complete pass, well, 2 complete passes through the novel, I guess, because the first I was just fixing the little things he had noted on the paper copy he had given to me, and then the second time I was reading aloud, recording that, listening back to that. So maybe it's 3 full passes. I don't know how you want to quantify it, but essentially, that was that week. And then I had maybe a day where I got back into Project 4. Project 4 doesn't have a name yet. It's my 4th novel. I mean, it has a candle. The candle has a name, but it doesn't have a name. It's titled Untitled in my documents. So I don't know. Based on what I've said, if you have any, I'm not opposed to receiving title ideas from. I suppose I haven't really said that much about it because I don't know that much about it yet. I know what happens in the first 11,000 words, and that's about it. And 11,000 words does not a novel make. So yeah, that was essentially the wrap up of my writing. I am going to pause the camera here and go and grab some of the books I read in June to talk about them, and that will be the next segment. So, sparkly transition. Okay, we are back. I have a pile of 3 books sitting on my lap to talk about, and these are not all the books I read in June. In June, I think my total was 10 books. But these are the paperback copies that are easy to talk about because I can hold them up and show you, and I kind of have things to say about them. So first book is a book I got from Blind Date, you know, when they wrap the book, Blind Date book, where they wrap the book up in brown paper. And I bought it because it had on the cover a wise pug, and I thought that was really cute, and I was like, I could use a wise pug in my life. A dog. So it is called, very cute, Pug Actually. And as you can see from the cover, it is a romance book. And it says, when your dog plays Cupid, what could possibly go wrong? So the protagonist of this novel, Julie, starts out doing a very questionable thing. She starts out the novel dating a married man, and her dog, Doug the pug, is trying to break them up. And he's having not much success, but spoiler, they do eventually like break up, and she kind of has this meet cute with VET, as Doug says it, a vet, called Tom. It's been a while since I read this book, so I just had to double check that I had the name right. But yeah, it's very cute, very sweet. If you're looking for a book that's kind of like fluffy and fun and feel good, yes, very cute. The next book is another romance. I don't know, I was on a kind of, well, in truth, I got this second book as a blind date book as well, so I don't know whether they're just wrapping up a higher percentage of romance books, or because more romance books get written, they have more to choose from, so they end up with more romance books as blind date books. But this one was Playing for Love. It is a romance novel, and it has this cute like gamer mistaken identity situation kind of going on, where the girl is kind of interested in this guy's like YouTube persona, but she doesn't know that she actually knows the guy in real life. And so it's kind of because he keeps his identity secret. Yeah, it's the mistaken identity bit was the bit I liked the most about it, because I just kind of found it a bit delicious that like neither of them knew, well, neither, the way they set up this situation is there's a gaming tournament and neither of them knows who the other is. So it's just kind of really fun to kind of watch them figure that out. And yeah, it was also sweet. And the third book I want to talk about is a book I have not finished yet. So shame talking about a book I have not finished yet. But I am so in love with it that I cannot stop this. Like, I can't leave it off the June video, and I will probably talk about it in July as well. So spoiler for the July monthly wrap up, I will be talking about this book again, and that is Yesteryear. So if you haven't seen this book and you have no idea kind of what it kind of is, it's this trad wife influencer gets transported back in time to the time of existence that she's glorifying, essentially the 1800s, and has to be an actual trad wife instead of sort of trad wife with lots of help and modern conveniences and all of that. And I just love the like crisp, witty sharpness of the writing. It's really the vibe I was going for with High Quality Man. I don't know how successful I have been in pulling off. I think it's obviously it's hard to judge a completely polished, published manuscript against a book that's still in development, but this is what I hope High Quality Man gets to in terms of like the witty sharpness and like the kind of biting social commentary. That's what I really want. And I kind of picked it up as a potential like, what is it, com title for High Quality Man. I'm on the hunt for those. So if you know of anything that you think kind of has sharp social commentary, I'm interested. My comments are open. Please leave me recommendations. I will take them on board and read them. Because I have decided I am going to query that book. This is kind of getting into an update that will be in another video, but querying The Go-Between Girl, I don't know what to say about it because it's still all a bit up in the air. I guess I'll say nothing, but I will update you when I can on that process and what that's been like. But before then, yeah, just starting to think about how I would package High Quality Man in that way and like what I would use to comp it, because I haven't, like, you know, this sector of the internet, it has been around for a long time and it hasn't in a lot of ways. So like how to describe it in a way and find like titles that comp it is an interesting conundrum. But anyway, that is pretty much my wrap up of June. And the last thing I have to say is to throw it back to you and wanting to know how your own writing endeavors are doing, how your own projects are progressing. Very interested. Do you subscribe to my theory that you have one overarching fear about every project you write, and have you found that to be true in your own writing that stays with you and you kind of can't shake that fear? Whether it's like, I'll never finish this, or this will never be good enough, or whatever that fear is for you, do you think that's true also? Let me know in the comments below. Yeah, okay. I will see you in the next video. It will be, get excited, another writing challenge swap video. So yeah, we are doing big things this week, big things. And I'll see you then. Okay, bye for now.